Okay, you won't understand what's going on. You'll walk in, and on the middle of the floor, there'll be a big pile of trash. It's as if all the local businesses took their big circular trash cans and just poured them out on the floor. There's spokes and wheels and coffee cups and broken toys and all kinds of tissue paper right in the middle. Everywhere around it, it's clear. It's like somebody just dumped out the trash. You go, what kind of art exhibit is this? It's garbage. It is garbage. But then if you come at night, there'll be a moment where they turn off all the lights, and then they'll stand on one side of the room, and they'll invite all those there on that side of the room, and they'll take out these flashlights, and all of a sudden that trash on the other wall makes this silhouette of beautiful pictures. They've got it so perfect that there's stories of families, stories of animals. They've taken what looked like trash and made it into art. It doesn't look like art unless you look through the light. If you look through the light, then you'll see what the artist is doing. We ought to understand this. If you drive down Michigan Boulevard to the $1 Million Library or the Cheech, on the way there you'll have to see the artwork at Tio's Tacos. Delicious tacos also. The following sermon has been sponsored by, no, I'm just joking. But there's all this beautiful art. And if you know the story of the owner of Tio's Tacos, he grew up very impoverished in Michoacan, Mexico. Had 9 siblings, and his father died. And so they didn't have new toys. They had to take sardine cans and bottle caps and make race cars. He had to be very ingenious and creative. And so that came over when he came to America. He started selling oranges on the side of the streets in East LA. And then he had a hot dog stand, and then a taco stand. And then he moved to the beautiful city of Riverside, where he opened up that taco restaurant. And that artistic continued. He takes garbage and he makes it beautiful. That's what I would entitle our message today. Amen. From the rubble. If you have a Bible, go ahead and turn to the book of Nehemiah chapter 2. We've been looking at these steps as though it's the history of Israel. And we see that first story of Zedekiah, the last king of Judah. He was captured. He rebelled. He saw his son slain in front of him. They put chains on him, gouged out his eyes, and took him to Babylon. That's like our life in addiction. That's like our life being enslaved to sinful habits. It blinds us, takes everything from us, and we become powerless slaves in a foreign place. And the king that did that, his name was Nebuchadnezzar. And he was the king of Babylon. And then we looked at step 2, where the king of Babylon, all powerful, but he got arrogant. And the Lord took his sanity from him. And he walked around like he was a cow for a time. And it wasn't until he turned his attention to God that his sanity returns. And that's step 2. You have to believe there's a higher power that can restore your sanity. And then after Nebuchadnezzar, there was another king named Cyrus, the king of the Medo-Persian Empire. And in one night he conquered Babylon. And there he met Daniel, the prophet. And Daniel said to him, God has been calling you a long time, Cyrus. God knows your name, and God has things for you to do. And Cyrus said, well, then let his will be done in my life. And that's step 3. We hand our will over to God. And now we come to step 4. But let us continue the story. So Cyrus made a decree. He allowed all those that had previously been in captivity under Nebuchadnezzar, if they wanted to go back to Jerusalem, to go back. And if you have your Bible, look at the book of Ezra. There was some of the priestly class that asked for permission and had authority to go back, and all the sacred things of the temple went back with them, and they built the altar in Jerusalem, and they began celebrating their feasts and holy days and offering sacrifices to God, and then they rebuilt the temple foundation. And when they did that, half of the people rejoiced. We got momentum, we're excited, look what God is doing, we're rebuilding the temple. But the older people, they grumbled and complained. Not as good as the old temple. I remember how the old temple was way more glorious than this one. And all the commotion, people rejoicing and people weeping, and you couldn't really tell the difference. But then the work kind of stopped. There came opponents against it. There was people that were benefiting by the work not being completed, and so it stopped for a while. And then you come to Nehemiah chapter 1, and Nehemiah is a Jewish exile living in Babylon there, and he's right next to the king. He's the king's wine bearer. So he eats the king's food, makes sure it's not poisoned. He drinks the king's wine, makes sure it's okay. He sits right next to the king. He's the king's friend. But he's got this burden. You talk about a good job. That sounds like the best job of all the jobs, right? If your people are enslaved, but you sit next to the king, you watch his entertainment, listen to his music, you literally eat his food before he eats it. Pretty sweet gig, right? But then all of a sudden he has this burden. And he starts to pray, and he sees some of his relatives, and he says, how are things going in Jerusalem? They go, not good. We're not rebuilding anymore. Everything's come to a halt. It's like a big pile of rubble. It's a disaster. And when he hears the news from 600 miles away about how his people and his homeland are doing, he's grieved in his spirit. You ever been grieved in your spirit? You ever look at your life and on the outside it looks very good, but something on the inside isn't right? And he can't shake this burden. And so there he is sitting before the king, and the king looks at him and says, Nehemiah, you've never been sad in my presence. What's going on? And he prays a prayer under his breath and says, oh king, how can I enjoy my life when my people are desolate, when our city is in ruins? And he says, well, what can I do for you, Nehemiah? And he prays again under his breath, God, give me favor. And the king said, he says, I want to rebuild the walls around my city. I want to give security to my people. And the king says, how long will you be gone? And he tells him a date, and he says, very well. Here's my authority. Here's my letters. Here's my seal. Get the lumber. Get the soldiers. Get whatever you need. And in chapter 2, he arrives at Jerusalem. It took quite a journey. And when he gets there, here's our text for today. Look at verse 11 through 17. And when he got there, he began walking around by himself. And he saw it was a disaster. Rocks and broken down walls. He couldn't even ride his donkey all the way around it. He's inspecting it. He's making a fearless inventory of everything that's there. And it is a pile of garbage.